The bomber tattooed on his back is, of course, a reference to his potent punch power and not in any way insensitive to the tragedy which unfolded in this arena when Ariana Grande performed Manchester. We'll never forget.
Hello, Boxing Asylum listeners. Steve Wellings here. We are on an end-of-year review special. 2018 is finished. We're into 2019, obviously, as I'm sure you've noticed. So let's get the review for 2018 underway. Dave the Hater Lowback is on with me. Also, Ozzy Smith and Andy Patterson. Packed year of action. Not the best year ever, I wouldn't have said. There's been a few good ones over recent years, but I don't think 2018 was brilliant. We're going over the Fighter of the Year and all that type of stuff a little bit later on. The Fight of the Year, rather. There wasn't a real standout one for me. There was a couple, but I was saying to Ozzy off air there, AJ against Klitschko 2017, that was a real standout fight for me. It had everything. It had knockdowns. It had comebacks. I don't think there was really fights like that this year at the highest level, but there was plenty of stuff to keep us engaged and keep us enthralled. If you are listening in at the moment or you're listening on Twitter or whatever, give us your Fighter of the Year, Knockout of the Year, Fight of the Year, all those type of things. We'd love to hear from you. Just let us know. Andy, we'll get stuck in first of all with the Fighter of the Year category. We have a couple of front runners as far as I'm concerned, but feel free to throw any in if you have any that I don't mention. Naoya Inoue has been mentioned. Obviously, I think he came through about 4 or 5 minutes of action all year because he was just too busy knocking people out, especially Juan Carlos Payano. So a good shout out for him. But the person I'm going for, Andy, and I expect you might be going for him as well, there's only one Fighter of the Year for me, and that's Alexander Usyk. You know, the World Boxing Super Series provided the platform. Credit to them as well. We hope they keep going. For Usyk to really announce his name on the global scene. He beat Bellew as well. Fantastic knockout. He won the tournament. He did it all on away soil. Can you really throw anyone else in, Andy?
No, I don't think so. I mean, if you look at especially the two fights at cruiserweight that he had, forget the Bellew fight. I mean, that was probably the consensus ranked 2 and 3 ranked fighters in the division. He's beat them. Close fight, obviously, with Bredis, which is probably in some lists for fight of the year. But to go on the road in these 3 fights, Latvia, Russia, and England, and basically, as I say, it's close fight with Bredis, domination against Gaziev, and an absolute obliteration against Tony Bellew. So yeah, I kind of disagree with that. I mean, if Lomachenko hadn't got injured, I suppose he may have fought maybe 3 times this year. I mean, the Linares fight was fantastic. No fight of the year stuff, it was high quality technical stuff. But I don't think it's enough for him to be fight of the year. Obviously, some people might kind of go towards Canelo for his win against Golovkin, but it was a close fight, So I'll not say that he's fight of the year. Crawford again, he's probably up the top there, but he's only fought Jeff Horn and Jose Benavidez and stuff like that. So I don't think many people can actually argue with it at all. I think almost any reliable or respectable outlet is going to be giving it to one man only, and it's Sasha Usyk.
Talking of reliable and respectable outlets, we like to see ourselves as one. Ozzy, shout out to Maurice Hooker, actually. Not really Fighter of the Year stuff, but defeated Terry Flanagan in June 2018 for the vacant WBO Super Lightweight title. Then he defended it in Oklahoma City against 28-0. Flawed, but still 28-0. Alex Saucedo in November. Shout out to Maurice. Who's got your vote, Ozzy?
Yeah, I would agree with that on Hooker. Probably two fights there where he went in as the underdog and 2 underdog wins, but there's no question about it. It's got to be Alexander Usyk. He's done things that nobody else has ever done in the cruiserweight division before. Like I said, he all on away soil as well. And I think bar the Bredis contest, it's the dominance in the way he's done it. Yes, he lost a couple of early rounds against Tony Bellew, but he came on and he just puts on clinics. He's a joy to watch. I think he conducts himself well, both in and outside of the ring, and I think it's a fully deserved award. He's been acknowledged by everybody else in terms of being the Fighter of the Year. Like I said, fully deserved, and I think 2019 is a huge year for him because whether it's a case of he probably gets either Denis Lebedev out of the way and defends all his titles against him, or he makes the move up to heavyweight and starts making inroads into that division from where, in my opinion, he can be a real threat.
Yeah, we're all looking, obviously, for Usyk to move up to heavyweight, which he no doubt will at some point, with Eddie Hearn behind him. One person who was on cue, I thought, for possible Rogue Fighter of the Year nomination, until he came a cropper to Charlie Edwards there just a couple of weeks ago, was Christopher Rosales. Obviously, he upset the fearsome Daigo Higa over in Japan in April. Then he went to Ireland, came over here, obviously, to Belfast and Northern Ireland to knock out Paddy Barnes. And then if he'd have beaten Charlie Edwards, I think he would have had a really strong shout for Christopher Rosales as well. What about you, Hater Dave Lowback, on the move at the moment, travelling along? Who's your fighter of the year for 2018?
It's got to be Usyk. There were two heavyweights who would have had a shot at it. Well, if Wilder had beaten Fury, and if Fury had stayed down in that 12th round, I think I would have given it to Wilder, because it would have been a huge coming out year for him in terms of just quality opposition. He came back and beat Ortiz in dramatic fashion and impressive fashion, and then he'd beaten the lineal heavyweight champion of the world. That would have been my fighter of the year if, of course, he had won, which he didn't. It's got to be Usyk. I forget that Usyk had actually fought Briedis this year. It was the very beginning of the year, I guess, January. I guess it was the end of January. But, yeah, those 3 wins. And Bellew means more as a win now than ever, really. I mean, he showed quality against Usyk, and maybe he was sort of at the end of his career. I mean, obviously he retired afterwards, but he was he was arguably at the peak of his powers. You know, he had. I don't think he was ever better than when he was at cruiserweight and beating Makabu, and he seems to have been as mature as ever as a fighter. So that win is still solid and means something, and it's good to stay active as well. Then of course the 2 big wins are Briedis and what's his face? I can't remember. Doesn't matter. Those are his 2 big wins, and I still think Briedis could arguably be the man in the division because that was such a close fight. But the fact is, it was close enough that Usyk could have well earned the decision, and I don't begrudge it to him.
You talking about Gassiev, were you, Dave?
What?
Gassiev fight were you talking about?
Yeah, I couldn't remember Gassiev.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. And I mean, next year, hopefully we'll see Gassiev versus Briedis and find out who the next man is. But as far as heavyweight now, Dillian White, I believe, made a big mistake this week in saying no one knows who Usyk is. It's like, well, for one, it's drawing attention to him. So people who haven't heard of him will now have heard of him just by virtue of Dillian talking about him. But it's just like, it's a very flimsy way of saying, I don't want to fight a guy, in my opinion. Saying, well, no one knows who he is. I mean, sure, you can say Dillian has earned his rematch with Joshua. I personally don't want to see that fight. But drawing attention to the fact that you're not going to fight a guy is not a smart move, in my opinion. And I think that's good for Usyk in terms of getting his name out there, and not only getting his name out there, but just getting his name out there as a heavyweight contender. Because if even Dillian White is talking about him and saying, I don't really want to fight him, I think that makes him relevant and makes fights at heavyweight, even in the top 10 with Usyk, that makes them a possibility.
Yeah, only on one winner then unanimously across the board. Nathan Newman was in touch with us as well. He says Usyk for sure. Just before we move on to the next category, shout out to the Japanese fighter Masayuki Ito. He's 25-1-1. He had a good 2018. Defeated 23-0 Christopher Diaz in Kissimmee in Florida for the vacant WBO super featherweight title. He was brought over to lose by Barber Aaron for that one. He defeated, upset Diaz. He then also defeated 20-0 Russian Evgeny Chuprikov just there in December, on the 30th of December as well, at home in Japan. So shout out to Masayuki Ito. He had a pretty good year. Just bringing up a couple of categories from last year, 2017. I have them in front of me. We're going to be going on to Twat of the Year 2018 later, but let's have a look quickly who was in action last year. Paulie Malignaggi, Adam Smith from Sky, and Adrian Broner were all nominated for 2017 Twat of the Year. So some things never change. And also last year we had an LOL of the year, and we were laughing at Chavez Jr.'s performance against Canelo, O'Hara Davis losing to Taylor, Steve Saunders kicking Monroe in the nuts. I'm sure you remember all these ones. Cali Solan's antics, Mick Hennessy on the YouTube Pink Tyson fiasco, if you'd forgotten that one. Also Cardle trying to get the Lonsdale belt, 3 defences coming unstuck against Robbie Barrett. LOL of the year. Ozzy, go ahead. I believe you want to throw something in.
Yeah, it's. I think probably in other circumstances, had Usyk not been around, I think Josh Warrington definitely deserves a shout in terms of being a fighter of the year, because look, he stepped it up. He went in as an underdog against Lee Selby, touted as probably one of the best British fighters around at the time, defeats him, and then he crowns off 2018 with a magnificent win against Carl Frampton, who again is one of the top featherweights in the world as now, and I think he really announced himself on the world scene, and I think quite a few people now are fancying him against, some of the big guys in terms of Valdez, and then looking at fights against Santa Cruz and Gary Russell. So shout out to Josh Warrington as well, who again on the world scene has had a tremendous year for him.
No doubt at all, Ozzy. Great shout out to Josh Warrington. Hopefully he will be rewarded before the evening is out. Let's go on to the knockout of the year then. I'll throw a few in if I can. Andy, Tony Bellew against Usyk. Obviously Bellew getting knocked out. It was cold. We saw the photographs afterwards. It was one hell of a knockout from Usyk. That's definitely a front runner. Teofimo Lopez knocking out Mason Menard. I said before, Menard was brought in for a highlight reel knockout for Lopez. That's the way it transpired in the first round. That was brutal. Also, very recently, Derek Chisora against Dillian White 2. One hell of a finish from Dillian White. They didn't show the replay for about 10 minutes. He really knocked him out cold. Also as well, Inoue Payano, we mentioned that one earlier. Any of the above, Andy, or any more you want to throw in?
Yeah, I've got a few others, mate. Rosales against Barnes with a body shot. That was quite sickening. You probably remember this one. Vladimir Shishkin against Najib Mohammadi. It was an undercard, the Groves Smith undercard.
Oh, yes. Oh, God, that was brutal. He should have been pulled out, Mohammadi, shouldn't he?
Yeah, he should have been. That's what I said. Just the way to see him getting iced like that was pretty brutal. Gazaev Dortiko. I think that was this year as well. Gvozdyk against round 12 against Donny Stevenson. Got to throw that one in there.
Good one.
Luis Ortiz against is it Cajano?
Yep, Razvan Cajano, yeah.
Yep, him as well. We said Lopez Menard. Lemieux against Spike O'Sullivan.
Yeah.
Good one. And Gonzalez against Moses Fuentes. I thought that was pretty brutal knockout. Some good ones there actually. I'll probably go with I'll go Lopez Menard, because that was just out, man. I mean, I just like, as soon as that punch landed, the lights were out, gone. He was just like, he didn't even take a chance to steady himself. Down he went like a ton of bricks and done. I mean, Christ, what a right hand.
It was an absolute belter. I tell you what, talking about brutal knockouts, Nathan Newman's come in and he says Adonis for LOL of the year. That's a bit of a brutal one, Nathan. But Jamal Charlo as well over Hugo Centeno. Wilder's finish of Ortiz, not really a one-punch job. Danny Garcia's KO of Brandon Rios as well. Ozzy was a bit of a lights-out moment.
Washed.
Yeah, there's a few that, I agree with them all, but one that I remember as well was Dillian White's of Lucas Brown. He was left absolutely cold, wasn't it? Alexander Povetkin on David Price. Big Price, he always takes a tumble. But for me, knockout of the year goes to Naoya Inoue of Juan Carlos Payano. Payano, nobody's ever done that ever to him. And I don't think anybody will ever do that again. He landed one shot and it was curtains. He was gone. Payano's just legs went from under him and... unbelievable shot, tremendous punch, power, precision, and for me that was the knockout of the year. But some brutal knockouts, and like I said, Tony Bellew's against Alexander Usyk was a highlight, I think, for quite a lot of the boxing fraternity. But Naoya Inoue for me against Payano.
Yeah, Ozzy threw in a couple of good ones there as well. Derek Chisora knocking out Takam was also mentioned, but Povetkin Price, I think, is probably, Dave, the one I'm going for. It was the classic rewiring of the senses from Povetkin. He then set Price up as an absolute sitting duck and sort of took that shot. I remember it was like a bit like Zlatan and Garcia from a few years ago. You know, you just rewire them with the first shot. They're freeze and they cannot get out of the way, and then he just finished them off with the second one. I'm going for Povetkin Price. Who are you going for, Dave?
Yeah, I thought about Povetkin versus Price, but see, I hate Povetkin, so I'm taking him out of the running. Also, the fact that it wasn't that meaningful and it was very much expected. I'm going to go with. I don't think it's poor taste. I'm going to go with Gvozdyk knocking out Stevenson. He's awake now. He's talking, according to his wife. Whatever. He's also a pimp. So, so I'm not really worried about calling that as knockout of the year. It was very meaningful. Lineal Championship changed hands. It was a good competitive fight. And just as the momentum seemed to be possibly sliding back Stevenson's way, Gvozdyk seized the moment and tore into him. And I mean, how much more emphatic do you get than putting a guy into a coma? So yeah, that's going to be my knockout of the year. It's got everything boxing. It's got drama. It's got controversy. It's got health risks.
I like the pause there, Dave. You had to think about that, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, Tommy would say justice. It's got poetic justice, but, you know, I'll just say health risks.
Thanks, Dave. Ben Wiseman Industries, everybody. Yeah, knockout of the year 2017. I'm sure you remember a few of these I have on my list. We mentioned Garcia's Latikanen. That was 2017. I thought it was earlier for some reason, but it's on the list here for last year. Beltran Moisello, Curtis Stevens, David Lemieux. That was a great one, wasn't it? As Zelani Tete against Siboneyes Ogonia. I was ringside for that one. Wasn't paying attention, and he got knocked out, Gonya, in about 8 seconds. Charlo Lubin was also on last year's list. Gonzalez versus Sorong Vizai, part 2. Dortiko Kudryashev, Eubank Jr., Yildirim, Gassiev, Vladarchik. That was a beautiful combination. I think it was a left uppercut, left hook from Gassiev. John Ryder, friend of the pod, knocking out Nielsen, was also in the running for 2017, as was Stiverne against Wilder. Wilder knocking out Stiverne in the first round of the most pointless rematch in boxing history. Let's move on, shall we? Ozzy, we'll come to you first on Fight of the Year. Some strong candidates, as I said. Is there a real standout one? We'll wait and see. Sorong Vizai against Estrada. It seems a million years ago now, that one, but it was part of 2018. I think it was around January time. Sorong Vizai getting the win over Estrada. Would have liked to have seen a rematch of that, actually. Also, shout out to Arislandia Lara against Jarrett Hurd. Ozzy, that was a good one. Usyk Bradis, we've mentioned that as well. And one of my personal favourites, Alex Saucedo against Lenny Zapavinia. Some good ones there, Oz.
Yeah, I agree with all of those again. Hurd Lara in particular, really enjoyed that. I thought it was an excellent fight. One that came through at the back end of the year, which was, in my opinion, Josh Warrington against Carl Frampton. That was all like rounds non-stop. And being in there as well, I think soaking up the atmosphere was absolutely tremendous. Difficult one, really. I don't think there was one that really, stands out and you think, wow, that was, it's there on the, straight away in the mind. I think there's a few that lifted up. But I'm going to give it to Hurd against Lara. Really enjoyed that. And maybe one that everybody thought that probably wasn't going to produce the goods, in terms of, it's a potential Fight of the Year candidate. And I think it definitely did that. And for me, it was the 2018 Fight of the Year.
Andy, any more you want to throw in there? I was thinking about possibly Chisora Takam. Some people have mentioned, I've noticed Stevenson Jack, and I've also noticed Canelo Triple G2 being mentioned.
Yeah.
It didn't have the knockdowns and all that of a traditional Fight of the Year. I suppose on an intensity level, you could say it was something that glued you to the seat, Andy, and you didn't want to move because of the, the high skills and the drama on display.
Yeah, I suppose you could also maybe put that in the same category with Fury and Wilder. But I would probably need to throw like Salcedo Zapavinia. I mentioned it earlier on the show there about it wasn't probably Fight of the Year, but on a technical point of view, it was really up there with one of the best you've seen in recent years would be Lomachenko against Linares. Wilder Ortiz. I thought we had a wee bit of kind of drama in that one. Wilder hurt. I think he was not dropped in that fight as well, and gets up and
Badly hurt, wasn't he?
badly hurt, and then knocks or badly drops Ortiz. Usyk Bredes was a good fight. I was there live. It was a very, very good fight, close fight. Probably my fight of the year would probably be Kosi Tanaka though against Sho Kimura. 12-round war, that one. So if you've not seen that one, I would recommend going and watch that one.
When Andy recommends a fight, go and watch it, everybody. It's usually a pretty good one. Yeah, Dave, I know we might be losing you soon, but just before we do, before you get delivered with the KO punch, do you want to give us a fight of the year? No, I think we might have lost Dave already, actually. I know he put a message in saying that he was going to have to bow out and have a bite to eat, so hopefully we'll get him on soon if he does indeed return before the end of the show. We won't be going for too long, but we'll be having a good old discussion. Fight of the year for 2017, I mentioned it was Klitschko against Joshua for me. That was on the list. Also Gonzalez, Sor Rungvisai won. James DeGale against Badu Jack, remember that? That was a good fight, wasn't it? Also Groves against Cox and Flanagan against Petrov. Somebody threw that in as well. Yeah, I think that was probably one of the worst fights of the year. But you never know. Old Terry Flanagan, he might return. He had a good fight with Regis Prograis during the year. Not really fight of the year material, but it was decent. Upset of the year, Aussie. I was thinking Lewis Ritson against Patera. He wasn't expected to lose this one, was he, Ritson?
No, definitely not. And I think from a betting perspective as well, that was definitely up there with one of the upsets of the year. I've got a few actually. So Ritson Patera, Vivian Obanov beating Natasha Jonas. I think she stopped her in 4 or 5 rounds. And Hassan Maquinho when he stopped Sam Eggington as well. They were my 3 that I had on my list.
Great one, yeah, forgot that.
Yeah, in terms of big upsets. I can't think of any others that stand out. I mean, I saw a list actually, I can't remember who tweeted it out. With the betting odds and stuff like that, and it was huge. With upsets. I'll try and find it now while you two discuss in terms of upsets as well.
Yeah, fish it out, no doubt, Andy. I was thinking Kovalev was probably expected to beat Alvarez, wasn't he? And Murata was probably expected to beat Brandt and not look as poor against Brandt, if nothing else.
Yep, true. I just think the way Kovalev got handled, though, I think he got dropped 3 times in the fight, stopped in the 7th round. That was probably a shock. Harrison beating Charlo, definitely up there with shock of the year. Had the Asan McEnroe that beat Sam Eggington. I don't know if I put this one on the list as well. I don't know if you'd agree with it, but Callum Smith, George Groves, maybe in hindsight, maybe not so much, but I picked Groves to win the tournament, didn't I? So I thought maybe it was a bit of an upset.
I think the manner he dealt with him, Andy, more than anything. I think obviously we knew it would be close, but I think the way he just manhandled, I think that was the surprise to everybody.
The other 2 I would probably throw in there would probably be Isaac Dogbo getting beat off Navarrete over 12 rounds.
That's a good one, yeah, forgot about that.
The other one would be obviously that I watched was Donaire against Ryan Burnett. That was a massive upset.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, obviously a bit of context to that one with the injury, but certainly was. Donaire wasn't expected Aussie to get the win there. Any joy on the list?
Yeah, so I've got it. So it was the biggest boxing upsets by odds. So top of the list was Roberto Ramirez beating Dejan Zlatikanin.
Oh, 2nd round knockout, wasn't it?
Yeah. Second on the list was Patera and Ritson, Maquinho, Eggington. Then one that was recent, Diego Ramirez beating Bradley Skeet down in Brentwood. That was in December. Ronnie Clark beating Zelfa Barrett. Hurricane Footer beating, Vage Sarukyan. Ryan Doyle, Reese Bellotti. There's loads. Heki Budler, Ryochi Taguchi. Who else have we got there? Jason Wellborn, Tommy Langford won. Hooker Flanagan, Brandt Murata, Harrison Charlo. There's all sorts. There's loads there.
Harrison Charlo's a good one, yeah.
Yeah. So, Warrington Selby's on there.
Well, Nathan Newman, Aussie, has actually mentioned that. It's funny you should say. Warrington against Selby and also against Frampton. He was coming in the underdog, both of those, wasn't he?
Yeah. No. For me, I think against Frampton he was 2-1. So I don't think he was that. Don't get me wrong. In betting perspectives, it's thingy, but
Mm.
I think it was closer than. I don't think that was a huge upset.
Yeah.
I mean, the ones at the top of the list are ones that I think everyone were gobsmacked by. I mean, Eggington getting wiped out by this McQueenio and Skeet, Ritson. God, Ritson was battered, wasn't he, by Patera? So no, I mean, there's loads, isn't there? It's why everybody enjoys the sport, because if everybody just looked at the bookies, it'd be straightforward. So obviously, shout out to those people who've gone in as the underdogs and upset the apple cart.
Big upset as well, Andy, is that Prince Patel hasn't won a world title yet. I know you've got another one to throw in, though.
Aye, Prince Patel, he's been kind of quiet. I've not seen his name kind of kicking about Eastern Europe recently, but yeah. But the other one I would add in there would probably be, I don't know if you remember it, but remember Rosales knocked out Diego Higa?
Yes,
remember the guy was all weight drained and stuff like that, so I think that was early in the year, so maybe throw that one in there as well.
No, that's a good one, Andy. That's a good one. 2017 upsets the year. We had Bellew against Hay. Jezreel Corrales against Alberto Machado. Obviously, Machado getting the win there. Miguel Cotto against Saddam Ali. Everyone thought that Cotto was just handpicking an opponent there to bow out of the sport. Ali had other ideas. Also, James DeGale against Caleb Truax came up on last year's list as well. DeGale got the rematch win, but yeah, Truax wasn't expected to win that first one on home soil as well for DeGale. Also, we had a schooling of the year category last year, which we probably, I don't know if we got that again this year, but Lomachenko, Rigondo was one of them. Huge size disparity in that one, of course. But anyway, Saunders Lemieux as well. That was a schooling from 2017. And also Mikey Garcia against Adrian Broner was thrown in as well for 2017. I don't know if anybody can think of any schoolings that have taken place this year before we move on to round of the year. Any one-sided dominations that come to mind?
Usyk against Gazaev is one that springs to my mind straight away, anyway.
Good one, good one.
Which was quite surprised, actually. People were all pumped for that fight, and just to see. But I'm not wanting to take anything away from Usyk's performance and that, but it was just, Gazaev mentally, I thought, quitting that fight, a bit like Canelo did against Mayweather.
Yeah, I think he just got caught out, didn't he? Tactically, he wasn't able to do things. He wasn't able to cut the distance. And Usyk showed for a big guy that he's able to get the dimensions right. And he was excellent that night. And just rubber stamps Usyk's confirmation as fighter of the year for me, really. Yep.
I've got one. I mean, it's not on that level, but one from the Frampton Warrington card, which was Liam Williams against Mark Heffron.
Yes.
That was just complete domination in a fight that, I mean, I picked Heffron to win. Wasn't the only one. Heffron was the favourite, and Williams, just putting it bluntly, took the piss out of him and got a deserved stoppage in the end.
Yeah, we discussed that on the previous pod on the festive special. Williams was excellent all night. He used the jab, he used movement, and he never got greedy, and he softened Heffron up, made him look one-dimensional. We've had Mark here, obviously, on the Asylum a couple of times, and, I wouldn't say I was rooting for him, but sort of, you get to know him and all that, and I really wanted to see him do well, and he was very confident, but Williams didn't read the script, and he got the tactics absolutely spot on in that one. But, yeah, that was a schooling, there's no doubt about it. Right, round of the year, Andy. I've got a few here. Saucedo Zapavinha. I think it's round 7. Forgive me for this if I got it wrong, but there was one round that was just rock'em sock'em robots. It was just blood and thunder. Also, Hart Ramirez. I was going for round 12 and Jesse Hart, Gilberto Ramirez 2. It wasn't a classic, but it's just the way it swung back and forward, and Ramirez with only one hand and all that. But there's only one winner, Andy. I'll let you go for round of the year. Tell us which one you've got.
I've got, round 4, Michael Perez against Abdillah Ramirez. Round 4, you mentioned there, Saucedo against Zapavinha. Round 12, Hurd against Lara. Round 12 again, White against Parker. Round 12, Rungvisai against Estrada. And round 11, Jack against Stevenson. But the winner in my book, and I think it's going to win the most votes and stuff like that, round 12, Fury against Wilder, without question.
Tell us, Andy, what happened?
Aye, so, as it is, everybody knows, we've all spoke about it after the fight and that. Good week, it just dominated social media and all the public platforms and that. But Fury dominating the fight in the cards, in my opinion. Gets caught with a right hand as he's going down. He gets clipped with a left hook as he's going down, lying there like a $2 whore, like, come and take me now, baby. No moving, just pull your night gun down after your financial, my sweetheart. Decides to roll over and get up and take the fight to the champion, and almost, I wouldn't say almost stopped him, but you could say he almost pulled that round back on the cards. What a performance it was in that 12th round.
Couple of comments there, Ozzy. Not on round of the year, but John Kearns was loving your throw-in for big Vivian Obernoff's punching the shit out of Natasha Jonas. I'd forgotten about that one, but Obernoff, no fucks given. She got straight stuck in there. Also, Nathan Newman was agreeing with Andy when it came to Gassiev Usyk. Plenty were picking Gassiev, says Nathan. So he agrees that Usyk really did put on a display that night. Round of the year, round 12, getting up like the Undertaker. It was brilliant value, brilliant drama, wasn't it, Oz?
Oh, brilliant. And I remember I was in my bedroom watching it and astonished for the performance. Not shocked in terms of Fury, because obviously we felt that if he could be at any sort of peak when he was against Vladimir Klitschko, that he could do exactly the same to Wilder. But I think it was in the manner that it was still the surprise from where he was, 26 stone, just a fat pig. I mean, he's dropped all this weight, put in two relatively just glorified sparring sessions and nothing interesting. And then, like I said, in my opinion, was boxing the head off Deontay Wilder. And then I thought, he's done it. And then Wilder lands those two shots. And I remember being on my bed, I had my hands on my head, thinking I was gobsmacked. And I thought, he is not getting up. Barry Jones and John Rowling on commentary, and then from nowhere, Fury sits up, and I was thinking, fucking hell, how the hell has he done that? And then it wasn't just after that, though. He got back up, and I thought, obviously, it only came to light after the fight, from where Jack Reese said that, I want you to jog to your left and your right. I thought that was Fury just trying to buy a few seconds, but that was the referee's instructions. He did that, and then he took a hook just after, and he stayed on his feet. And then, like Andy said, as soon as he cleared, he took the fight to Wilder and obviously didn't win the round, but really bore the pressure on, snapped Wilder's head back a couple of times, landed some shots. It was just a truly tremendous round of boxing. And usually you'd expect to see that in maybe rounds 1 and 2, not round 12 after. In a decent fight as well. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't, like millions of shots thrown, but it was a decent competitive fight with two big guys, and it was brilliant. Real good round and a great end to the fight.
Yeah, from the great fights to the shit fights, Boar of the Year 2017, you may have forgotten about these. You may have them still recorded on your DVD player. Who knows? Crawler against Burns, Erislandy Lara against Terrell Gausha, Lee Selby, Jonathan Barros. I think that was on ITV. Watch that one back. Boar of the Year 2017, I think, went to Dillian White against Robert Helenius, though. Also, we had the Mismatch of the Year category last year. Daniel Dubois against his debut opponent. That was a cracker. Crawford Ndongo was thrown in. Mayweather McGregor, remember that one? Fielding Brophy. Bivol against Trent Broadhurst. Sky showing that one over in Monte Carlo. Wilder Stiverne 2, pointless, as I said earlier. Brian King versus the Claymaker, Mismatch of the Year, was also on the list. And Ankayas versus Conlon was thrown in as well. Trainer of the Year, Andy. Last year, in 2017, we had Adam Booth, Virgil Hunter, and Dominic Ingle all getting thrown in. This year, a lot of love for Anatoly Lomachenko, I've noticed on Twitter. Ben Davison as well. I always look for a trainer who has improved a fighter. Where do you go for Trainer of the Year 2018?
I think you go with Lomachenko. Simple fact is he's got his son to beat Linares. He arranged the camp, I believe, for... I think it was for Gaziev. Didn't take the corner though. And he's basically trained that entire Ukrainian squad that's culminated Gvozdyk being the other one to collect the world title toward the end of the year. So I think even Terry Atlas paid homage to him as well during the post-fight presser. So for me, directly or indirectly, if he's a trainer or not, I think Lomachenko Senior or Anatoly Lomachenko, he's got 3 world champions on his books, and one of them's undisputed, and that's Usyk. And the other 2 are obviously his son and Gvozdyk.
Yeah, Nathan says special mention to Ben Davison, obviously Aussie, for his performance during the Wilder Fury fight. Lomachenko, what I liked about him was he's not necessarily resting on his laurels. I thought in the last fight against Pedraza, he was asking his son to do different things. So he is thinking in there. He isn't just sitting, taking a paycheck in the corner and letting one of the best technically gifted fighters on the planet do his thing. He is trying to work on things and, add a bit of longevity and looking towards future fights for his son.
I would agree. And I always think that's good because, I mean, in my opinion, I think being coached by a relative, particularly your dad, it can either go one way or the other. I mean, you see Chris Eubank get involved with Chris Eubank Jr. and it's just a complete mess and a travesty, whereas this is the complete opposite. There's clear respect there. He knows what he's on about. And for me, I completely agree. He's the trainer of the year. But again, a shout out to Sean O'Hagan. He trains Josh Warrington. Again, he has done everything. He's come up with brilliant game plans to beat two people in Selby and Frampton. Probably taken his lad from where people ever doubted he could be a British champion to now the best in Britain and a legit world level fighter as well.
Yeah, no sign of Dave the Hater Low back yet. He's still off stuffing his face. Ozzy's on the call with me, and so is Andy Patterson as well. You listen to the end of year review for 2018, Boxing Asylum Nutters podcast. Don't forget to go and subscribe and do all those things. YouTube. Well, I mean, I suppose it doesn't really matter about YouTube at the moment, does it? They've got the knives out for us, but there you go. We shall continue with our list. We're about halfway through or so. Thanks for sticking with us, everybody. Prospect of the year. Last year, we had Shakur Stevenson on the list. We also had Michael Conlan. And we had Zelfa Barrett, who's obviously come a cropper since then. Not sure about the criteria, Andy, on this one. We were talking again off air. Should it be under 10 fights, 15? What should it be? I'm going to throw a few names out and you can agree or disagree or say who you want. But we've got Shakur Stevenson, Teofimo Lopez, who I'm going to go for, like the look of him, Virgil Ortiz Jr., Devin Haney, which is where it gets into muddy waters. You know, he hasn't really fought anybody, but he's had like 19 or 20 fights. Ryan Garcia, love him or hate him, he's got a few good wins. Sonny Edwards, Deniar, Yelusinov. Use your own criteria, Andy, and tell me who you're going for.
Yeah, because we spoke about, I forget what fighter it was I think Ozzy brought up Buatsi, but because he's what now? Has he got like a title or something?
Yeah.
But then I'd argued that Lee McGregor, for example, he's only 5-0, but he's a Commonwealth champ at bantamweight because he's, you know, it's not a strong division domestically. So I would probably need to throw in there probably Lee McGregor. I don't know about you guys, but domestically I had a look at the cruiserweight division and stuff like that, and nothing really kind of inspires me. But for his previous fight, I did like the look at Craig Glover, so I'll be interested to see how he's matched in the next coming year, and that if he makes any inroads in the domestically in the division as well. Willie Hutchison obviously is one of the key that is been kicking about. Sonny Edwards, as we spoke about, he's been on the podcast obviously. Lopez, I agree with you, Steve. He's going to be my pick of the year. But then obviously you've got a ton of the likes of Azerbaijanis, Kazakhs, and other Eastern Europeans coming through. Like you say, Ilusinov, you call him Grajayev or something like that. Quite a few of them, like Guy Banzarov and all these. You know, anything that ends with OV at the end of the names and stuff like that, they're going to be worth a watch, basically. But yeah, for me, I don't know if you want to throw in Tyrone McCullough, for example. I know he's like 12-0, but I'll go for Teofimo Lopez as my prospect of the year.
Yeah, there's a Nigerian heavyweight who's one to keep an eye on, and for the life of me, I can't remember his name. It's just come to me there whenever Andy was mentioning off air before we started about Tisenko and all that type of stuff. I think he was the guy, is it Effie something? He was supposed to go in against Curtis Harper, and Harper didn't get in the ring, but he's definitely one to watch. Yeah, I definitely like the look of him. Not the guy, I think he was from Guyana, who was supposed to make his debut. He made his debut on Eddie's show. Maybe it was the Kansas show or the Chicago show. He's supposed to be one of the next big things at heavyweight and lost his debut. Got dropped a couple of times. Not him, but keep an eye out for not Ivan Drago, but Ivan Dyko. He's 7-0 at the moment with 7 knockouts. He's looking pretty decent. They've got little promo videos of him on YouTube. Knocked out Michael Marone, who's a decent enough sort of gatekeeper type. He's also knocked out Mo Harris, which doesn't really mean much because Harris has had as many losses as he's had wins by now, and he's about 40 odd. But he looks like he could be a puncher, this Dyko. He fought AJ as an amateur as well, so he could be one to watch. Aussie Jack Massey on the domestic scene, is he worth keeping an eye on?
Keep an eye on him, but again, he's one of those that hasn't really fought anybody yet. I think until you do see them get in the ring with live opponents, who can, I mean, Ian Timms is probably his best win, and Timms really hasn't been up to much in terms of the pro game. One for me, would you consider him a prospect? Is Filip Hrgovic, the big heavyweight. And what's he only had 7 fights, but love the way he's been matched. None of this bullshit. He's been in with some decent people. fight. Big, sexy Turner in his fourth. I mean, Sean Turner can give anybody a fight, and like I said, he handled him pretty well. Amir Mansour, Kevin Johnson. So I think considering he's been a pro for only 2 years now, what is it, 8 fights, 7 fights, something like that. He's getting the experience, and I mean he's wiping them out as well. Like I said, he destroyed Mansour, so he's one of them. But Lopez Jr. is a great shout. Sonny Edwards I've got on my list as well. I mean, I have got Buatsi on there. He's had 10 fights. And I do like him. I just want to see him stepped up properly now. Nothing else in terms, like, we don't want to see any more garbage, like, or 1 week fights, 1 week camps, for his opponents. But no, I would agree with Andy in terms of Lopez Jr. is probably the prospect of the year. But Hrgovic, again, a big shout out for in terms of good addition to the heavyweight division.
Go ahead, Andy. I believe you wanted to throw something in on McGregor.
Yeah, just Lee McGregor obviously picked up the Commonwealth title, 5th pro fight, and obviously Kash Faruqi, he won the British title. Another local lad, I think it was just 2-3 weeks ago or something like that, to win that fight. So potentially, I wouldn't say it's a big fight for Scotland, but it's going to be like, generate some sort of interest in that. And she'd probably get some TV coverage as well, seeing it's a British and Commonwealth unification.
Yeah, slightly divergence in the categories this year from last year, but we're not going to worry too much about that. We had a breakout of the year category last year. Lewis Ritson, obviously with his win over Robbie Barrett, got in on that one. Miguel Bichelt against Francisco Vargas. David Benavidez against Porky Medina. The night he used his head as a speedball. Errol Spence Jr. announced himself to a completely different audience when he beat Kell Brook. Also back in 2017, Daigo Higa, what a difference a year makes. He dominated Pablo Navarrete. Inoue as well against Antonio Nieves, and Luke Campbell against Jorge Linares. Good performance from Campbell on that one. Also, controversy of the year 2017 was a year of controversy. Andre Duel Uzcategui, obviously when Leon Lawson jumped into the ring, started punching Uzcategui. Ward Kovalev 2 with the low blows was controversial. The scoring as well in Golovkin Alvarez, Canelo Alvarez, the first fight. Rigondo punching Moises Flores after the bell. Remember Anthony Joshua's stoppage win over Carlos Takam? Kurt Sidze getting collared by the law before the Billy Joe Saunders fight was a good one as well. And of course, Rigo quitting against Lomachenko. Putting those to one side, a brief one from you, I suppose, Ozzy, because you mentioned it already, but British Fighter of the Year, I can't think of anybody more deserving than the man you mentioned earlier for Fighter of the Year overall. It has to be Josh Warrington for me.
Completely agree. And I've explained myself about Josh Warrington before and earlier in this podcast. And just a quick recap: 2 tremendous victories over Lee Selby and Carl Frampton. And I mean, the Frampton performance, I think he gobsmacked a lot of people. I backed him to win the fight, but I didn't expect him to do it in that manner, from where he got out the blocks and just exploded out there and put it on Frampton, and Frampton never recovered from it. So, yeah, Josh Warrington for me in terms of British Fighter of the Year. And as much as I say it, I think Dillian White's probably in with the shout there. He's had a good year, Dillian White. He's got some good wins under his belt. A couple of brutal knockouts of Chisora and Lucas Brown, I think. Who else has he fought? Oh, and Joseph Parker as well. So in terms of Brown, Parker and Chisora for a 2018, that's not a bad year. That's pretty good in terms of for Dillian White. And so props to him, but for me, Josh Warrington, without a doubt.
Yeah, completely agree there. I've said before, if you can't get Fury or Wilder in the ring with Joshua, then I'm not really averse to Dillian White, because I think he's had a good year. He's gone out there, he's knocked people over, decent people, like Joseph Parker. He got the perfect knockout revenge win over Derek Chisora. He's had an excellent year, Andy, Dillian White, but I suspect you're probably going to be going the same route as us with Josh Warrington.
Yeah, Josh Warrington for me, you could... I get where you're coming from with Dillian White at the same time, but if we really want to be like looking at Fight of the Year purely, okay, add the knockouts and that, but let's just beat about the bush here. Lucas Brown was, he is what he was. He was fat, he was out of shape, well overweight. Joseph Parker, again, didn't really do much in the fight until kind of latter half of that fight. And Derek Chisora, we all know, has seen better days. So I would need to definitely say Josh Warrington, because, and I dare say, I think we've mentioned it, I've heard it mentioned anyway, that Warrington was twice underdog against Selby and Frampton, and he go out there and do it the way he done it. And not just pretty much sneak it or anything like that. He beat the champion decisively, and in the end, he beat Frampton. In the end, pretty clearly as well. So there's no dispute about it. Didn't leave it up to any contentious debate. I just thought he was a well-worthy winner in both those fights. So and to do it in that stage as well, one in his local town, selling at 20,000, 25,000, and then selling at the MEN in Manchester. So it's got to be Josh Warrington, hands down.
On to referee of the year, Aussie, or referee watch in general. I'm going for Jack Reese for his performance in the Wilder Fury fight. I think he helped save the fight towards the end and make it into the spectacle that it was. I know not everybody agreed with that, but I thought Jack Reese did a pretty damn fine job. One thing that passed me by a couple of weeks ago, because I was at Frampton Warrington, someone said that Terry O'Connor might have retired as well, so we might have seen the end of Terry, and also Victor Loughlin mentioned for him. I wasn't impressed with his officiating. I know, again, people disagree with me, which is absolutely fine, in the Ryan Martin fight, and which was exemplified by Jack Reese in Wilder Fury as to why you give people a count. Not going to go over that again, Aussie. Also, Parker Williams, I think Loughlin was maybe one of the offending scorecards there. Referee watch, Aussie?
Yeah, I think Victor Loughlin in terms of cards and couple of decisions in the rings had a poor year. I was going to say a shout out to Twinkle Toes Terry O'Connor. I mean, the way he moves around that ring is a fine example to all young referees coming through the boxing system. You can move like Terry O'Connor, you can move like anybody else. But no, Jack Reese, I think, in terms of a referee's performance, I mean, it was a fine example from where the count is vital. And I think God from a TV, like we all said before, Fury looked down and out, but he gave Fury the chance, and he essentially Jack Reese played a part in that final round, and a huge part as well, because if he waves it off straight away, it's fight overdone. Gave Fury the chance to get up, and it was just an excellent bit of officiating. All of his experience used, and I thought he handled the fight really well as well. So. Yeah, in terms of that, I mean, it's always difficult to think, really, because I think you only remember the referees when they have poor displays, naturally.
Yes.
Poor cards or poor stoppages, etc., things like that. But I think the Reese one, because there was that huge knockdown, you do remember him. I've no doubt there's others as well, but he's the first one that springs to mind.
Yeah, I was hoping to get Hey to Dave back very shortly, because we're going to look at Network of the Year in a bit, which will include the American networks. So I know Dave is a big fan of the Electronic Sports Participation Network and DAZN and all those type of things. So hopefully Dave will be back on soon. Shout out for Referee of the Year, Andy. Jack Reese, a front runner for you?
Yeah, Jack Reese for me. Just thought the way he handled it, the whole situation and stuff. People are still, but people mentioned about the count not being, exactly 10 seconds. I have no idea how in the hell of fucking Christ you can actually, count 10 seconds exactly in a situation like that. But at the end of the day, I stuck up for Victor Loughlin a wee bit, actually, for the performance he put in against Taylor, against Ryan Martin, purely because I felt that Ryan Martin didn't really want to be there. Didn't seem to do nothing. He's since after the fight mentioned to boxing scene he had a story for him, and then 2 weeks later it comes out that he's apparently failed a drugs test for that fight. So
Yeah.
something's off. I don't know what it is with that one at all. But Vic's had a few shockers, by the way, with these scorecards. And obviously none of them kind of come to mind at the minute, but I've seen on, for example, which one was it? Josh Taylor against Victor Postol. Actually, was that this year? This fight? Sorry, 2018. That fight. That was 2018. That fight, wasn't it?
Yes, I think it was in the first quarter, was it?
Yeah, the 118, 110 scorecard, I think he gave Taylor, maybe 117, 111 for Taylor, and I said to him as he walked past, and that's how I saw it. But listen, that was a close fight, very close fight, and it's clear again that the local fighter got every kind of close round. But it's clear that probably Vic's probably more suited to being a referee than a judge, in my opinion. But the other thing as well is he gets a lot of the gigs in that because he's not fluent, but he speaks, or he's learning Spanish, so he's one of these, he keeps getting these kind of big gigs and stuff. I've not really seen much Ian John Lewis this year, so he's not really kind of fucked anything up that I can recall, unless you guys can think of anything.
Not really. I noticed Steve Gray's definitely coming to the fore. Also, Michael Alexander's been getting a few. Wasn't Alexander involved? This might have been 2017 in the Walsh Javonte Davis fight as well. So he's coming to the fore, and there's another referee as well. I can't think of the top of my head. Ozzy, you might know, is maybe a Scouser or something as well, who's getting a few gigs.
Ooh, what's his face? Mark Lyson's the only Scout referee that I can. He's received some stick, Lyson, or did you say? Or
no. I just noticed that I was just saying about Michael Alexander and Lyson are coming to the fore a bit more, and Steve Gray's getting a lot more work, isn't he?
Yeah, Gray's with the WBO and IBF. Lyson's a really good referee. I really rate him. Had to work hard, done a lot on the not obviously small hall. I think all referees do that, but more the domestic circuit. Done really well on that. What I would say about Ian John Lewis, Andy, is that he did cock up in terms of he turned in a scorecard for Reece Bellotti against Ryan Walsh.
Aye, that was just recently, that fight too, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was just recently. Putting it bluntly, a fucking horrendous scorecard. In where I don't understand how you could score it for Bellotti against Walsh. It wouldn't be a year without Ian John Lewis really cocking up, would it? But no, I do think we have a decent set of referees, to be honest, in terms of, I've seen some garbage before and some outdated people as well, but I think they all make the mistakes, don't they? And sometimes it's a sport from where mistakes prove costly.
Yeah, well said, Ozzy. That's certainly true. A final few categories now before we close out. We'll be coming on to worst decision of the year soon. I'll also be asking the guys for a fight for 2019, a dream fight, or hopefully one that can become a reality that they want to see. I know everyone's desperate for Brook Khan to be made, but there might be a few others on the list as well. But we'll ask for one fight for 2019. Also, the twat of the year. I know Nathan's been throwing a few in the chat. That could go on a while. Twat of the year. And network of the year, if we can get Dave back as well. Comeback of the year, Andy. Tyson Fury, we all know about out of the ring exploits, also inside the ring against Wilder. It's been an all-round comeback for the big guy, but also a shout out to Ioka as well. I hope it is Ioka, isn't it? He beat McWilliams Arroyo. He obviously didn't get the win against Nietes there, but it was he came back to the highest level, didn't he, Ioka?
Yeah, he did after I think it was a good year at the ring and stuff. He mentioned he's retiring, but he come back and beat Arroyo like that on the manner what he did. It was really good. There's no shame in losing a guy like Nietes as well, who created his own bit of history. I think he became, the third fighter in history to win the 4 titles in 4 weight classes and that.
Wow.
Obviously, shout out to Matty Korobov for his performance against Charlo. Took it in late notice as well, I believe, that fight. Ioka, as you mentioned, Tyson Fury, obviously, as well. And a wee shout out as well to one of the lighter weight guys for South Africa, Murutu Mathlin. He beat Mohamed Wassim early in the year or middle of the year for re-won the vacant IBF title in Kuala Lumpur, and then he beat Mashiro Sakamoto in Macau just over the course of the new year there by a 10th round stoppage. So a wee kind of comeback for him in that as well, because he's been. Well, even when he was champion, he was really struggling to get fights because the purse bids weren't covering his bills and all that sort of stuff. So I think in the end he ended up getting the IBF title stripped from for inactivity or no fighting the required challengers or whatever. And that, so he's got himself back in contention again, and maybe see if he gets a few decent periods off the back of that, because he's well up in age now as well.
Yeah, it's all about Fury. Is it few Aussie come back outside and also inside of the ring in 2018?
Yeah, that's correct. Tyson Fury again. Shot the odds, like I said. What was he up? 20 odd stone, comes back down and puts in a tremendous display for the world heavyweight title. So, yeah, there's no other candidate for me aside from Tyson Fury.
While you're unmuted, Ozzy, let's go on to worst decision of the year. Andy has done his research. He threw a few in, to be honest, and helped me out, if nothing else. Brewbreaker Nurse was one of them. Oosthuizen Machuno, I thought that was quite a close one now, but also Zach Parker Williams. Worst decision, bizarrest decision, considering the context of the fight.
Oh, the Parker Williams one, it was on a Cyclone card, it was a garbage decision, absolutely awful. How it was awarded to Zach Parker, I do not know. Darryl Williams should be the British champion, super middleweight, and he was robbed, well and truly robbed. And I think that was a card, Andy, where Victor Loughlin turned in a dreadful card towards Zach Parker. Again, Another good shout, Jack Brubaker against Tyrone Nurse. Nurse well and truly robbed. A disgraceful decision out in Australia. I think you can maybe probably put Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder up there in terms of how, I mean, that scorecard who awarded Wilder, what was it, 116, 111 or something like that? 116, 110 towards Deontay Wilder. But for me, it is, going back to the first one I mentioned, Zach Parker and Dora Williams, the worst decision of the year.
Yeah, I think the Fury one might have been 115, 111. Any scorecards that have got your blood boiling, Andy?
Scorecards off the top of my head, I can't think at the minute, mate, but I did write down a few decisions on that. Obviously, Fury Wilder, obviously. John O'Carroll against Frenois, the one that became a draw. The other one would be Chudinov against Najib Mohammadi. Thought Mohammadi was pretty much clear a winner in that fight. And I don't know if I was mentioning it there, but Jack Brubaker against Tyrone Nurse. Pretty shocking decision as well. I think it was like 116, 112 or something like that. The Brubaker they gave it.
Yeah, out in Australia, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's the way it goes sometimes when you travel. Like I said, twat of the year is coming up. Nathan has said Billy Joe Saunders. He's had a bit of a dodgy year, hasn't he, Saunders? Ballbag Johnny Nelson as well, says Nathan. And any of the Sky lot. Yeah, we mentioned about Adam Smith, haven't we? With the bomber comments. I mean, that's one of the best ones I've ever heard. That is some classic value of the weeks as well have come in over the year, including Simon Jordan's comments about Dominic Ingle being the roid-ridden, jug-eared Morlock, and that's one of the best ones, to be honest. But Andy, that has yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's been some crackers, but I know who you're going for, and we always like to give an award to this guy on this show, don't we? Whether it's Belly of the Week or whether it's Twat of the Year. Old AB, what has he been doing, Andy? Or more to the point, what hasn't he been doing this year? Probably be quicker to read off the list of stuff he hasn't been nicked for.
Well, he's not been to church recently. He's abstained from bad behaviour and that. He's apparently been, I think, I'm right in saying this, but I think he's been not arrested as such, but yeah, it's TMZ at the end of the day, so you don't know whether to believe that pish or no, but he's apparently been facing 2 sex crimes on the same day. So that's just like sexual deviant type behaviour, that by everything, about fucking allegedly molesting 2 people. But then all the sexual, orientation of these people yet. But AB baby, always beasting. He goes to Atlanta and he goes to Cleveland and that. He's always hustling, baby. That's all it's got to be. AB, the fucking greenbacks and the barebacks.
He loves having a child or two, as he does, old AB. Whenever Andy was talking about him getting involved there with a woman, not once, but twice on one day, it also reminded me of someone else we could throw in. Old Victor Ortiz was getting busy, wasn't he? Wasn't he picking him up and dropping him off with the old lorry this year?
On the highway over in America, yeah, I forgot about that.
That was a while ago, was it not? Because his brother's got a Holly's business or something like that.
Yeah, when was it? Was it September?
He was due to fight or something like that. He handed himself in a week before. I think it was the week of the fight, but I'm sure it was a kind of old case or something like that as news, because there's no fucking way that's just come up recently.
No, definitely not. No, I've googled it now. Boxer Victor Ortiz pleaded not guilty on Wednesday to 3 felony sexual assault charges in connection with an Oxnard incident. He also said he turned himself in for a rape charge as well in September.
Oh, he likes to he likes to kind of, branch out a wee bit, yeah.
No, definitely. Adam Smith, I always think he's worth a nomination for Twat of the Year, mainly for his comments during the Bellew Usyk fight against Tony Bellew's bomber tattoo, a terrorist attack and he had no relevance. And still to this day, I'm bewildered by those comments from how nobody would have sat there looking at Tony Bellew thinking he's got bomber tattooed on his back because of the terrorist incident here.
That bastard.
Yeah, what a twat. Literally, what a twat for even saying it. So yeah, Adam Smith is a close second, but I think Mr. Broner is definitely up there. I mean, he started off 2019 with a bang as well, and is he not up for? Did he not get arrested for 2 sexual assault charges or something like that in the space of a day or something. Like
I just mentioned that the other day. Fuck it. I always remember. I remember Kurt posting a video of him shagging two sewer rats that he picked up in the.
fucking hell.
Aye, but he was in there. He positioned his phone. He's in there bareback and that with a BB fucking C and all that sort of stuff. Aye, he was some man he'd be like. And then Chino came along and ended the fucking story.
He could multitask, don't he?
Aye.
Gino came along and impregnated him. You join us, Dave. You rejoin us, in fact, at an opportune moment here.
I'm hearing a bunch of talking about rape charges and Adrian Broner. So I assume we're at Twat of the Year.
Yes, we're at Twat of the Year, Dave. Would you like to nominate AB? We've also nominated Victor Ortiz as well for his exploits, going around like a character out of Jeepers Creepers, Dave. I'm sure you remember that movie. Who's your Twat of the Year?
Broner.
Yeah, I mean, he has said a lot. It's just like it's hard. He was not very relevant the first half of the year, but somebody who was relevant like the majority of the year, Adam Smith, and his Balma Bellew. Certainly not a reference to the terrible terrorist attacks here in Manchester. I mean, that guy. I think he just sums up the year, and he's like a matchroom stooge. So it's just like it sums up the whole sort of attitude of F2018, and well, not all of the good stuff, but most of the bad. And I heard someone was thinking of one of our listeners nominated Paulie. I think his commentary and his tendency to go against the company narrative, I think that more than makes up for his occasional Connor, you got no balls, as Rob says.
I actually watched that Notorious documentary on Friday night actually, and I actually caught the end of the sparring session, and Paulie's like, she's like, "Yeah, I tried to knock you out, boy. I tried to knock you out and stuff like that." And McGregor went, "Yeah, you fucking tried." It wasn't really much footage as well. It was actually kind of like less than 10 seconds possibly.
Yeah, Nathan's jumped in here. He's nominated Mark Kriegel for Casual Bastard of the Year. There's a lot of hate on Kriegel, isn't there, at the moment here? Which, Andy, leads us perfectly into our last but one category, Network of the Year. Kriegel is obviously working on ESPN at the moment. I think you couldn't subscribe for like $5 a month or whatever it is to get their coverage on the ESPN Plus app. You've also got Fox getting involved now. They're taking over the PBC side of things. Will Showtime start to disappear from the sport? HBO are disappearing from the sport as well. DAZN are getting bigger. We hear as well, Andy, that DAZN's long-term plans is to possibly do a subscription service in the UK, similar to the way they do the one in America and the rest of the world, rather than partnering with Sky. So they could be direct rivals for Sky in the future, and also direct rivals for possibly BT Sports. So interesting times when it comes to TV, Andy. Who would you think is the Network of the Year? Who do you think's had the best time, the worst time? Who's been pissing you off behind the mic, etc.?
Well, broadcaster is probably going to be Team Stream. We always find those streams. So fuck the networks, especially when you put on, 2 pay-per-views 2 days before or 3 days before Christmas, simultaneous. Oh, sorry, you put on double pay-per-view. Sorry, I think we had something like 6 over the start of last year, 6 almost to end of last year and stuff like that as well. So it's just an absolute piss take. The worst one of the year probably going to have to be HBO. Just the way they bowed out. Shambles.
That last show for someone of their, esteemed nature in the sport. I mean, Jesus.
I know. I mean, at one point, I tell you how bad you say it yourself. HBO got so bad and stuff that at one point Jim Lampley actually threw out there that Heather Hardy was a recovery of a rape situation.
Both have been rape victims.
Yeah, I mean, what a fucking prick. Yeah, so I suppose we could maybe throw DAZN in here as well, because Eddie came in here, spoke big, $1 billion deal and all that sort of stuff, and he's signing this fighter, that fighter. He wants to make these fights and stuff. I remember he mentioned light heavyweights and 154 and all that type of shit. He's done nothing with that money. And at the end of the day as well, look at the shows that he's putting on in America at the minute. They're almost mirror image of the shite that we get in the UK. There's no way the Yanks are going to put up with that shite for much longer. At the end of the day, they're going to start calling them out and say, listen, we need bigger fights, better fights. And if he doesn't fucking deliver it, that 2-year deal, you may have to go back begging to Sky to kind of stay on the air.
Yeah, it's interesting times, Aussie, when it comes to DAZN. I think Eddie came big, thought he was going to flash the checkbook. The big fighters haven't really signed with him. He's got a decent little stable, but nothing great by any stretch of the imagination. He said he was going to put on so many shows, 20 or whatever. He's not met that. He's met the pay-per-view quota, I think. As Andy said, it's been the year of the pay-per-view, hasn't it, Aussie? That's the way things are going. We've got ITV and the pay-per-view scene as well. But DAZN, I think that whenever he said about the budget for the year, what was it, 125 million or whatever, it seems like that is the budget for the entire boxing, and the money that's available seems to have also been sucked up by Canelo rather than just exclusively to Matchroom. I could be wrong about this, but it looks like the funds maybe aren't there that they thought there was going to be.
Yeah. It's been a strange one. Like I said, he announced this $1 billion deal, I think, with the words he used, over a certain amount of years. And in reality, I don't think the cash has been seen. Yes, he's put on some world title fights, but it says it all that probably the biggest fight the network would have had would have been Demetrius Andrade against Billy Joe Saunders, and that fell through. No other fights really stand out for me. And
I'm still pissed off about that falling through.
yeah, no, I agree. And fingers crossed. I mean, I think Saunders will be renamed as mandatory again by the WBO, so we might well see that. In terms of DAZN, though, I don't really know. I mean, they brought Canelo on board, haven't they? Clearly to help drive subscriptions. But, I mean, from Matchroom's side and Matchroom USA, I mean, you look at their first show for 2019 in America, and it's garbage. I just don't see how it... I mean, Andrade against Artur Akavov, Linares in with no one impressive, Chris Algieri's on there. It's just very underwhelming, and it's not something that I think will, makes you want to subscribe. I know you get a month free, but then you look at the schedule and you think, well, what's the point? What am I watching here? I mean, Katie Taylor's headlining on there as well. It's just, in my opinion, it's just not for me. I think they've had a poor start under Matchroom USA. It does take time. Like I said, he's got to build the stable. I think they messed up, actually, not getting the Dillian White Derek Chisora fight. Obviously, that went on Showtime, didn't it? So
well, that's another thing, isn't it, at Aussie? Because we're saying about these fights, it was supposed to be exclusivity, wasn't there? And AJ was only ever going to be on one place. But does this open it up then that these fights are open for bidding and there's not the exclusivity we thought there was?
The pay-per-views are. So the Saturday night fight nights will always be on DAZN. The pay-per-view shows are up for grabs. However, DAZN get the first opportunity to bid for them, and they get the last opportunity to bid for them as well. So, I mean, basically all the eggs are shoved towards the DAZN basket. But if they decide they're not interested, then it is the they can then, basically they can go to whoever else is bidding on them as well. So it's going to be interesting times, really, because, I mean, they're ploughing millions of dollars into it at the moment, and I just can't see them getting the return at the moment. It's probably one of these where you've got to speculate to accumulate, but how long do you keep bleeding cash for, really? I mean, I've not seen any official numbers, but, I mean, there was rumours that on Joshua's fight, I think only 13,000 watched it, because there was a little icon in the bottom right-hand corner showing how many were watching it live at the moment. So, in answer to your question, yeah, they've not had a great year at all. 2019, they definitely need to up the game. Will we see that? We can only wait and see. But by January's card, they've got to really step it up.
Yeah, before we get everyone's fight for 2019 and then close out, final comment on this section from you, Hater Dave. I know you're a fan of the Electronic Sports Participation Network, but I want to ask you about HBO. We saw them go out with a whimper, but where do their pundits go? That's what I'm interested in, Dave. They've obviously got Jim Lampley, for so long the voice of boxing. Andre Ward, Kellerman will probably find himself a home on ESPN. Who else have we got? Roy Jones as well. Where would you like to see these pundits go, Dave? Who should pick them up? Maybe DAZN should flash the cash for Roy.
Well, Kellerman already talks sports on another station. I don't know if it's ESPN or Sports Center or something else. He already goes and cries about stuff on some other. I remember he was crying about Tiger Woods earlier this year. Lampley, I think this might be the end of the road for Lampley. I mean, he's a good He's a good play-by-play man. He's exciting, but at this point, I think he's probably done. Lip Merchant, I mean, he's retired, even though he had that last little hurrah. Roy Jones and Ward are the ones I'm most interested in seeing the future of. I mean, those guys still are fairly young, and they're not really necessarily attached. So, I mean, I could definitely see Roy Jones is very well known as a commentator at this point. So I could see him definitely picking up a gig on ESPN, DAZN, somewhere else. I mean, some of these are in desperate need. Like, as much as I love Sugar Ray Leonard's career, the guy is not meant for mic work. In the old days, actually, he wasn't a great commentator either. Back when he retired, like one of the second time or the first time, he retired like 20 times in his career. But one of those times, he still commentated. I think he commentated on Hagler Hearns. I'm not sure, but he used to commentate on a lot of fights, and he was solid. But now he's kind of lost it. So maybe replace him with Roy Jones. Now, as whimpery as it was, the way HBO went out, I'm still giving them Network of the Year. I can't think of a network. Certainly it wasn't Showtime. Like they were barely even relevant or present throughout all of 2018 until the end. They had a few pops here and there, but I think they were very, for the most part, it was about a accumulation of various networks on terrestrial TV and streaming and that sort of thing. It was definitely a transitional year in boxing, and I think HBO still gets it because they gave us some good fights. They gave us Golovkin, Canelo too, and even though a lot of their nights were just embarrassing, they were notable because of either how bad they were doing or because of the fact that they were leaving boxing for good. And I mean, it gave everybody a chance to kind of look back in the past at all the great fights. That tribute they edited together, I think on their official last night of broadcasting, it was like a highlight mashup of some of the great nights on HBO. That was better than any broadcast that they'd had all year, actually. And I think I'm just going to give the nod to HBO. It's sort of like a send-off to them.
There you go, everybody. Pat on the back from Hey to Dave Lowback. Always a great endorsement. And we shall finish off with look forward to 2019. What fight? You can pick a couple if you want, 2 or 3, whatever. But what fight majorly, Aussie, will come to you first? Do you want to see for 2019? Any weight division? Any realistic fight? Personally, I would really love to see Errol Spence against Terence Crawford. I think it will happen at some point. It'll probably be 2020. But at the end of 2019, I would love to see Spence undefeated, Crawford undefeated, going in against each other. What about you, Oz? 2019 fight to look forward to?
Oh, good show, that one. Very good show. I think looking at the top, the big guys, Fury Joshua Wilder. I think either of those I've been more than happy with seeing at the end of 2019. Love to see Josh Warrington, Oscar Valdez. I think that will happen anyway, but I think from a fan's perspective, that has just got all action written all over it, and that'll be a tremendous fight. Who else have we got? Spence Crawford, yeah, without a doubt. Maybe a bit of a surprise. I would like to see Usyk in with Joshua. Maybe a bit early 2019, but I think that would be a good fight. I'm just trying to pull up the ratings now, just to give me some ideas of names, like that. Lomachenko, Mikey Garcia, 1. Whether we see that now, I'm not too sure. I mean, Garcia's put on a hell of a lot of weight. Actually, he looks quite bulky, but he doesn't really look good for it. It's like put the weight on more just to get to the weight more than anything. Conor Benn in with a live opponent again. Always brings action because he gets dropped and bullied.
There's a few people pushing and shoving him on Twitter, isn't there? He wants the Garton fight, which is good.
Well, he does, yeah, but who the fuck is he to start calling out Johnny Garton?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going off on something else here, but no disrespect, but this guy went life and death with a French kickboxer, and in my opinion, lost the first fight in 2017. Come back, struggled early on, but obviously he went on to pretty convincingly win. So you go and earn your badges, Conor Benn. Go up the area level and English level, because if he goes in the ring with Johnny Garton gave Gary Corcoran a hiding, and Corcoran had smashed Conor Benn to bits. So Ben's a long way off that, but yeah, a step up for him if he wants it. Let's see it, because he'll get his fucking ass kicked. And I hope the bookies price it wrong, because it'd be easy money to be made. That. Anyway, back to it. I'll probably stick with the ones I've gone for. I was maybe thinking like Callum Smith, Canelo, or someone like that. Yeah, I would stick with that in terms of what you said, Steve. Mate, I'm looking at Garcia, Lomachenko, Spence, Crawford, and Joshua against either Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder.
What about you, Andy? Up to the heavyweights, possibly Wilder Fury rematch. The one we all want to see is probably Joshua against Wilder, but it doesn't look like that's going to be made anytime soon.
Yeah, round robin of those three: Wilder, Fury, Joshua. Nothing really kicking about cruiserweight at the minute. Obviously the tournament, if it ever gets out of finish, so we'll wait and see. Lomachenko, one name we didn't really mention there, but obviously Garcia, but we don't know what's going to happen with him. So Spence, Crawford, I understand that. Hurd, I like to see Hurd go up and wait and fight Canelo, actually, just purely because of the size. Domestically, I'd like to see, obviously, Boatsy him with some of the names, like maybe Burton or Yard, but that's not going to happen, I don't think. As I mentioned earlier on there as well, potential prospect of the year. We're talking about like Craig Glover, or one to look out for, so to speak. Sorry, Craig Glover, cruiserweight. I like to see him a wee bit more. So we got, obviously, you got some unification fights at world level between light flyweight and flyweight that we could potentially get made. Lee McGregor against Kash Farouk, British and Commonwealth title fights at bantamweight, so that might be pretty decent. I think what else? Cheeseman against Fowler. I want to see it just because it's a domestic fight and it might be a decent enough scrap. So I get that one thrown in there. And obviously Lewis Ritson is still British champion. I really don't know if they're going to make this Lomachenko Crawler fight. It's a disgrace if they do make this fight. Actually, I mean that is just going to be a live butchering. You're going to see a guy get hung, drawn, and quartered live on television. It's going to be unreal to watch. So I don't know, maybe put Ritson in with Crawler, or maybe put Crawler in with Campbell. I know he's mooching about for a title fight. Light heavyweight world level again, Dimitri Bivol, maybe Paterbiev, for example. He's gonna go quiet again. We've obviously got to see a bit more of Callum Smith, see him a bit more active and stuff in that as well. But obviously, the one fighter I'm looking forward to next year is Naoya Inoue, to see how much inroads he makes at bantamweight and stuff, and how far he goes in the tournament and that as well. So a few things to look forward to. Can Crawford as well, potentially, just to kind of make sure that Eddie Hearn gets off to a bad start at 2019 as well. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Inoue against Sor Rungvisai. Dave, tell me about the Charlos. Idiots like me have said that Charlo's going to make a dent in the middleweight division, but obviously after his performance against Korobov, they're not going to be throwing him in with the likes of Canelo or Golovkin anytime soon. And then the other Charlo down at super welterweight, I'm not going to pretend to know which one's which. Well, I wanted to see him against Jarrett Hurd, but given his performance and obviously loss against Harrison, it's thrown it up a bit as far as they're concerned.
Jermell is the little one. Jermal is the big one.
Which is the one with the big mouth, Dave?
That's both. Yeah. See, I thought the commentary for that fight with Jermell against Harrison was just awful. I mean, that was a very close fight. They just were shitting on Harrison the entire time. I didn't think he would get the decision. For one, he's not the A side in it. For two, it was close enough that you could probably give it to Jermell. I don't know. I scored it twice. Once I gave it to Jermell. Once I gave it to Harrison. It's a close fight. I'm happy with the result, though, because Harrison deserved credit for what he was doing, and he certainly wasn't getting it from the commentary. But yeah, if you can't, it shows that the Mr. Jermell is apparently not on Jarrett Hurd's level, who handled Harrison with far greater efficiency. But so that was the big fight we were gonna see. I still kind of do want to see it, but at this point, you have to have that rematch, don't you, between Charlo and Harrison. As far as Big Charlo, I think things look actually, even though he still has his O, I think things look bleaker for him because he's not going to be able to use the size advantage anymore. He's going to be more in a natural weight class. His power, I mean, he did hurt Korobov badly at the end, but I mean, if you don't have the missile to get the explosive to the target. I mean, it's useless. And he really struggled with finding Korobov. Korobov, who was inactive, hadn't fought anyone good in quite a while, got stopped by Andy Lee. So I think things are bleaker for him, considering there's a lot of heavy hitters at middleweight. And Korobov was never known as a big hitter. And he seemed to, he connected flush, obviously, several times. So Charlo showed a chin, but he was rocked a couple times in that fight. So I don't think he's going to be taking the punches of Canelo or Triple G. Maybe put that one in against Andrade. See how that goes down. I mean, as annoying as Andrade has been, and his career has been up and down, it's still been less annoying than Billy Joe Saunders. And I just want Andrade to get that one big fight at some point so we can see what he's made of and see if we should even pay attention to him anymore. Instead of fighting these lanky guys I've never heard of and just winning a wide unanimous decision. So, yeah, well, I hope that, Charlo Andrade, Jermall Charlo versus Andrade would be one of my fights. Also, I'm going to see Cal Yafai versus Inoue. Just to see him get iced, because I'm tired of hearing about him. I would like to see Joshua against Fury, especially because I believe Fury was the winner, and I believe Fury presents more stylistic problems, definitely, to Joshua than Wilder does. I doubt we'll see it. I think the best laid plans of Al Heyman and Eddie Hearn might scupper some of these matchups that we're really wanting. Same thing with Lomachenko versus Mikey Garcia. Now Mikey Garcia is possibly tied up with Errol Spence, maybe for good. That fight might also scupper the fight we want to see, Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. So we'll have to see how that plays out. As far as I know, that's still on, right? Spence versus Garcia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not a bad fight. It's not what we wanted, but it's not bad and still somewhat intriguing. You got to favor Spence right now, but I'm still looking forward to it. The problem is it could throw a wrench in some plans depending on how it goes down. And how about Andre Ward coming back? I want to see him come back and fight anyone, really. I would watch Andre Ward fight anyone. He's that good, and he's that interesting to me. Also, Usyk, I forgot to mention Usyk against a heavyweight in the top 10. Could be Dillian White, could be even one of the top 3 guys, Joshua, Wilder, Fury. Joe Joyce, throw him in there. I know we already, I think it was the World Boxing Super Series that he whooped Joyce in.
World Series of Boxing.
That's what I meant, World Series of Boxing. WSB, not WBSS. So I wouldn't mind seeing that played back in the pros. That's one that you can sell, like sort of as a revenge or repeat thing. But I'd actually love to see Usyk against White, probably.
Excellent. Some great picks from Dave there. Getting his WBS. Plenty of BS, though, from Dave throwing in. Thank you to him for joining us on this evening. Also to Andy Patterson and Ozzie Smith. We shall take our leave of you. Another successful year over on the Boxing Asylum. I suppose, like we say every year, we want to get rid of titles, stop people from getting popped for PEDs, get as many big fights made as we can, cut the pay-per-views out, stop the bullshit, and just get the big fights made. No politics, I suppose, but that doesn't happen in this sport, does it? Well, we shall take our leave of you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll catch you all again soon. I've been Steve Wellings. Bye.